My birthday is coming up and I wanted to make a dress for myself. I've been thinking, what should I make? I have so many fabrics that I haven't been able to do anything about them for a while because I've been busy. So I went to Walthamstow Market yesterday and I saw this amazing fabric. Oh my god, it is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. It's organza designed with this fabulous brocade thing going on here. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It cost about £15 a meter. So I just decided to buy 2 meters, just 2 meters. I'm going to make a flowing dress, abaya, flowing dress like butterfly abaya with it. Just 2 meters that I bought, not a lot. So I want to make that today, and let me walk you through the journey. Well, it's just a simple abaya, nothing fancy, just something you join on the side, cut off the neck. And I also got this one in, this is beautiful, man. Look at that. I got it in purple, but this is not for me. There's somebody's birthday coming up soon and I want to give this as a gift to them. Oh, beautiful. They love purple, so yeah. Anyway, so I got this red for my own, and then I want to make it. I'm going to be making it today, and the reason why I'm filming this is because I have lots of friends out there who want to be able to make something for themselves, something as simple as bobo, something as simple as Iran buba. You should be able to do it. So I am challenging you to go and get yourself a sewing machine. Go on Amazon, get a sewing machine, or go to Hobbycraft to be able to see affordable sewing machine, home use sewing machine that you can get. And I'm gonna cut this. I will show you how I do this. So I'm challenging you to get a 2 meters or 3 meters of fabric and do something similar. And please tag me when you post it. It's a challenge. Go do it. Of course, you can pay dressmakers and fashion designers to make your fabulous dresses, but something as simple as boubou, all you need to do is just cut the neckline, sew it up. I'll show you how I do it, and then I want you to go do it yourself, okay? Let's go do it. Let's go do it. Let's go do it. Let's go do it. I bought 2 meters. I folded it into 2, okay? So this is 1 meter and then 2 meters folded into 2, okay? And then I've cut it on the side as well so that you have 2 separate fabric for the front and for the back. Now the width of the fabric is very long, and that was actually what helped me to make my mind up about buying 2 meters because that is going to be the length of the dress. So if you measure the width of this is 57 inches. I am not very tall. I'm 5 feet 2 inches, so 57 inches is enough for me. My length is 55 inches, so we have about 2 inches to play with there for seam allowances and things like that. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've divided the fabric into 2, we're now going to fold each of these into another 2. Like I said, the top here that has the selvage will be where I'm cutting the shoulder. So I'm going to fold that. I like to fold it because I'm cutting directly on the fabric. I'll be marking on the fabric, so I'm going to fold to the wrong side. I have folded it. This is for the front and this is for the back. Unfold. This is the center front and this is the center back. So on the shoulder line right here, I'm going to mark 3 inches. Mark this with my marker here on 3 inches, okay? At the end of, by the time we finish sewing, it's going to become 3.5 inches, because this then will be where we are sewing, because I'm cutting directly on the fabric. And then the depth of the neckline is going to be 4 inches. So I'll mark it on at the 4 inches because I want it to end up being 4.5 inches. So I'm going to mark that. If you have a French curve, you can place your French curve to achieve a nice curve here, but I'm just going to eyeball it, okay? So yeah, I'm just eyeballing to meet this one, okay? Like I said, it's going to be the same for the front and for the back. I'm going to cut it out. Then you could decide to leave this bit like so, but I don't want to leave it like that. I like to give it some shape. So at the end of the shoulder line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, just 1 inch, okay? I'll come down by 1 inch, and then I'll mark that 1 inch. And then I'm going to roll that 1 inch to connect to the beginning of the neckline here. On this 1 inch to meet the neckline, so it's going to have a little slant. And then we're going to cut it. Okay, now we have a slant, and that's it. There's nothing else to do. We've done the cutting that we need to cut. So this is the front. So this is the front, and then you're going to place the back on the front, right side facing each other. This is the right side, this is the right side. So you place the right side facing each other, and then we are going to pin the shoulder from the neckline here up to the end of that. Okay, we'll pin it and then we sew it together. So if you have these clips, you can use the clips. If not, you can use pins. So if you're using pin, you just align it, make sure the neckline is aligned to the front and the back, and then you pin it. The reason why I don't want to use the pin is because this is a very fragile fabric, it's organza, so I'm going to use the clip instead. If you're using an organza as well or any other fragile fabric, you can get this kind of clips, okay? Okay, so we'll take it to the sewing machine and sew both sides and the other side. So fold off an inch and then fold in the half an inch that you're folded. So you end up having 1/4 of an inch that you are, as your seam, that you are sewing down. And of course, if you have an overlocker, you just need to do one turn, not 2 turns. You overlock it and then you turn it once and sew. But since we don't have an overlocker here, that's why you are doing a double turn for your seam. So, what I showed you earlier was to join it on the shoulder, on the left. And I've also done the same thing on the right as well. So it's looking like this after I've joined it. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do, as you can see, this place is open. I just use pin to pin it. Now we're going to take it to the table and measure how far we want to sew, because what we want to do now is to measure the armhole. It's going to be about 9 or 10, to measure the armhole from the shoulder here up to this point, and then sew it all the way down. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. This is the center front. This is the center front right here. What I usually do is I measure the fullest part of my body, which is my hips, and it's 42. Now I'm going to divide 42 by 4, 10 and a half. So once I take it to the table, what I want to measure is from the center front here, I'm going to measure 10 and a half. Okay, wherever the 10 and a half stops, I'll then add 2 inches to it to give us some room. So the total I'm going to be measuring is going to be about 12 and a half or 13. Okay, 12 and a half. I'm going to measure 12 and a half all the way down, and then I'll mark it, and that is what I am sewing on this side as well as on this side. So I'm going to do that, and then the next thing I will do is also to use this bias binding. Is the satin bias binding. Okay, and we're going to use that to tape the neckline so that it's neat and it's not fraying. Okay, so I'm going to take that to the sewing machine and sew that, and I'll show you how I do it. Okay, let's go. This is the neckline, and I have sewn the shoulder here on this side as well as on this side. I've also hemmed the sides. I've rolled hemmed the sides so that it doesn't fray all the way to the back, and on the other side as well. So what I'm going to do now is to fold it in 2 so that we have the half of the front. Yeah, so this is the shoulder, front and back, shoulder, front and back. Just folded it. Okay, and then we have the center front here. Okay, so now what we want to do is sew up the side. Remember, we are not sewing up at the end here. We are sewing is a butterfly boubou. So what we are going to do is we'll go to the center front here and take a quarter of your widest circumference. The widest circumference in my body is my hip, which is 42. I'm going to divide that into 4, which will give me 10 and a half. Okay, so at the top here, at the shoulder here, coming to this side, at the shoulder here, I'm going to measure 9 inches because that's going to be the opening of my armhole. Okay, so 9 inches here, and then I'm going to mark it with chalk. So 9 inches here, I'll mark with chalk. Depending on how tall you are, so you could make it 10, but I like mine to be not to really show when I lift up my arm or something like that. So it's going to be 9 inches, and then on that 9 inches, I want to find 10 and a half, which is a quarter of the circumference of my hip. 10 and a half is this, but because there's not going to be a zip, we don't want it to be too tight. We want to give it some room. I'm adding 2 inches, 2 or 2.5 inches. So the measurement is 10 and a half, which ends here. Then I'm going to add 2 inches or 2.5 inches, which makes it 13 altogether. Okay, so as you can see, this is where we have our 13. Actually, let me make it 12 and a half so that it's not too. Yeah, so I'm marking the 12 and a half here. For the waist, I'm going to give it a bit of a shape. My waist circumference is 34. If I divide that by 4, it's going to give me 8 and a half. My waist will give me 8 and a half, and from the shoulder to my waist measurement is 17. So I measure 17 from the shoulder down to 17, and where you end the 17, I'm going to place my tape measure to measure 8 and a half. Then I'm adding 2 and a half also to that. Okay, you want to add 2.5 to all your measurements, so that will be 2.5 here. And then I will do again on the hip, which will be 13 like we have started, because what I'm doing is just to curve it a bit on the waist. Okay, you don't want it to be too curvy as well, because so that it's not too tight for you to wear. Remember, we don't have any zipper there. And then I'm going to take it all the way to the bottom of the dress, leaving about 12 inches from the bottom, and I'm going to end it right there. Okay, just to repeat what I've done, I take the biggest part of my body, the circumference of my body, which is the hips, and it's 42. Divide that by 4, it gives me 10.5, but I'm adding 2.5 inches to it for allowance, and it gives me 13. So on my bust line, which is 9 inches from the shoulder, I measure 13 inches. Then I measure the length of my waist. Measurement from the shoulder is 17, and on that 17, a quarter of my waist circumference is 8.5 inches. Again, I'm adding 2.5 or 3 inches to that, and it's giving me 8.5 inches, giving me 11. And on that 11, I'm curving it. All right, I mark that. And then on the hip line, which is about 25 inches from your shoulder, again you mark 13, and you do that all the way down to -10 from the hem, because you're not going to be sewing it down to the hem so that you can walk. Okay, so we've done that. Now I am going to pin that and repeat the same on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to pin it because we are sewing that. What I'm doing is I'm pinning all the 4 layers, yeah, the front and the back. I'm pinning it together, but I'll show you what I will show you what I'm doing in a minute. But I'm pinning everything together so that I will not need to measure on the other side. Okay, so I'm pinning it all the way down. At least to that -10 or -12 from the bottom, which is right here. Okay, now you will turn it to the other side. You will turn it to the other side, and when you turn it to the other side, you will see where we have marked, where we have pinned. You just trace your chalk right there where we have pinned. Okay. So you just trace the chalk right on where the pins are, as you can see. Up to that point. Now what I will then do is to remove the first pin and pin the second pin, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to remove this pin so that you're not sewing it all up together. So I'll remove this pin and just pin the top 2 layers. Okay, pin the first 2 layers, which is just the front. Okay, so now for the back layers, I can then pin that on its own. Okay, and then we're going to pin, see, then we're going to pin that as well. Okay, so what we will do, we'll take it to the sewing machine and sew it all the way to the end where we've pinned, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. I'm also going to be using the bias binder, which is this tape right here. It's made of satin silk, and then we'll use it to hem the neckline so that it's not fraying. So what we'll do is just take the sewing machine, sew it like so, and then turn it, and it becomes like that. Let's go to the sewing machine.